Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM, channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. A lot of single people are looking for love. And unfortunately, a lot of them are struggling to find it. Well, tonight we're talking to some single folks about the 5 love languages and how they impact the dating pool. We have a wonderful roundtable of singles. Ronette Thompson is a 54-year-old attorney. Jessica Brown is a 34-year-old founder and executive director of the College Girl Foundation. Jeff Mills is a 54-year-old ordained minister and varsity high school football coach. And Raymond Pretlow is a 45-year-old financial strategist. Also joining the conversation is clinical psychologist Dr. Roz Aker-Black. Sorry, guys, she is not single. So, hang that up. It's not going to happen. I know her husband, so back up off a sister. I want to talk about, first of all, the 5 love languages. And I think a lot of people are familiar with them. You know, quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and receiving gifts. And here are a few facts about those 5 love languages. The concept was developed by Baptist minister Gary Chapman when he published the 5 love languages book back in 1992. Can't believe it was that long ago. Quality time is often cited as the most preferred love language. Receiving gifts is frequently considered the least popular. But Dr. Roz,
yes,
why do you think that it's so tough out here in these single streets for people to find connection? And do you think that the 5 love languages help or hurt that?
that's a great question, Harold. And here's the truth. I think it's a struggle because people have trauma from past relationships. And it may not necessarily be romantic relationships, but trauma from their childhood. Because, you know, you and I, we talk about this a lot when I'm on your show about attachment theory. And so if they are not able to trust that their parents will be there for them and will love them and will care for them, it's going to be hard for them to go out into the real world and think that anybody else would be able to be there for him. And here's why. Because if the people who are supposed to love you, like your parents, who are supposed to take care of you, who are supposed to be there for you, are not there, then you really don't see anyone else that you think would be able to do that. And so that, I think the core of why people struggle sometimes is not because of romantic relationships, but it's because of those first attachments in life to where they struggle with the idea of, I don't know if anyone will love me in the way that I need to be loved. And because of that, people are afraid to be in relationships. They're afraid to trust others. They are afraid to give their heart. I mean, to be in a relationship, to be with someone, to be intimate with someone, you have to be vulnerable. That's what intimacy is, vulnerability, right? And so if you are in a space of not thinking that anyone will be there for you, it's going to be very hard for you to let those walls down, to let anyone in.
Let me talk about some of the love languages. Jessica, I'll start with you. You are the youngest person in this virtual room. Do you believe in the love languages? And if so, what is yours?
Oh, for sure. I believe in the love languages. And for me, I would say my number one is quality time, because time is your biggest currency in life, right? Like, you're never going to get time back. So how I spend my time, and I spend it with you, and I find a way to spend it with you, I think that that's extremely important to me, because you can get gifts, right? You can get, and like, you can have all the trips and this and that and the third, but what does that really mean when there's really no connection? Right? Because there's some things that money can't buy. And through quality time, you develop love, you develop trust, you develop respect, you develop honesty, which goes into my second love language of acts of service. You know, I can provide and buy myself all the diamonds I want. I have my own addictions that I can pay for. But what I need from a man is something that money can't buy. And so those are the things that I value the most. Words of affirmation, words are just words. Anybody could tell you anything and still do whatever they want to do, right? So quality time for me, and of course, acts of service go hand in hand.
So if a guy walks up to you and says, hey sis, you're really beautiful, you just give him the side eye and say, mm-hmm.
No, I would say, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, but you ain't defining who it is. Is it more Jessica? Say, hey, how you doing? Or is it Tyrone who be in front of the corner store asking how I'm doing?
Ronette, what about you? Are the 5 love languages a thing for you? And if so, what is yours?
Well, I would have to agree with Jessica that quality time and acts of service are really important for me. I too echo the "Hey, beautiful" text. That's an instant turn off for me, especially in the initial stages of communicating with someone. If that's how you address me, I feel like that's how you address everyone, because you really don't know me yet. We're initially starting to talk, and let's address me by my name. I mean, that moves me more than just the generic "Hey, beautiful" text that it seems like that's the norm nowadays. And especially time, because time is a currency that we can't get back. I hate for people to waste my time. Don't tell me things and then the actions don't match. Mm-hmm. And acts of service, let me tell you, last Friday, I was driving around trying to get air in my tire because it was cold and that alert came on. And I was just thinking how nice it would have been to have someone, even though I can do it myself, and I was able to do it after finding one that worked, but it would have been nice to have someone to do that for me. Just something as simple as putting air in my tire.
What about you, Raymond? 5 love languages work for you? If so, what is yours?
Definitely. The 5 love languages have been a topic of interest for years. I even had an event about it. And at that event, and every time I'm asked, I do not share my love language, because the minute I share it, it's like an open book test. And I'd like the person that's trying to get to know me rather than have the answer to the test up front, because it might give them some possibility to not be themselves, not be natural. You know what I mean? So I never share my love language. I let the person discover that over time, a lot of communication, and let them find out for themselves based on natural getting to know me type of.
But what can you share for the purpose of this conversation? Because
yes.
Okay, so go ahead.
So for this conversation, I love. And so my love language is comprised of a combination. I have 1 primary and 2 tied for second.
You're killing me, Ray. What are they?
I know. I can't share, especially now. I can't share because it's like I said, it's one of the things I want someone to learn and discover about me in time.
Well, I think the sixth love language would be transparency, and Raymond has failed that. So let us Jeff, can you help a brother out? What about you?
Yeah, I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum from Brother Raymond. I'm going to put it out there. I love to be transparent, and that's what works for me. So quality time is my number 1 love language, period. I'm the only child from Jimmy and Eva Mills. And so all I know is quality time. And so with my significant other, I don't have yet. Quality time means the world to me. Like sister, I think it was Jessica. I can't read. But the youngest sister out here, she said about
Jessica.
Hey sister Jessica and everyone else. But yeah, the quality time is very much important to me because time is currency, and the worst thing to do is waste time. Wasted time is worse than wasted money. You can get money back, but you can never get the time that you spent or you've invested in someone. So please, at my age, I hate to waste time. I have to be intentional. And so quality time is very much important to me.
Dr. Roz.
Yes.
What's wrong with us? And because you have the secret sauce. You've been married. I know you look like you're 22. But you've been married for a minute or 12 or 10, and Um,
18.
18 years.
Yeah.
18 years. But, when you talk to, to your clients, to, your sister friends, what is it that they are most concerned about, complain about when it comes to trying to find the match that they need or desire, I should say?
You know what? I hear all the time, Harold, that there is pee in the dating pool and some other explicit words in the dating pool.
Formaldehyde, some old Jolly Ranchers, some mismatched socks.
Yeah, you name it. But honestly, what it boils down to, Harold, it really boils down to, as Coach Mills said, intention. What are the intentions? And sometimes, as Jessica and Raynette both said, the hey beautiful say that's all good and dandy, right? Guys have learned that they can tell you what you want to hear to get what they want. And so those words become null and void now. And so the biggest issue is expectations and intentions. We don't know the intentions of the other person. And because we can't trust what their intentions are, we can't open ourselves to them to even get to know them. And so I hear you, Raymond, in terms of saying that it takes time for people to see you or figure out your love language. But sometimes people don't get to the 3rd week, 4th week, 5th week, 6th week, so that they don't get the opportunity to learn that about you. So I would encourage you ain't got to tell them your love language, but I would encourage you to be a little bit more open and approachable.
Now, let me preface that, because I actually coined the term being hot. I like to be hot.
Okay.
Honest, open, and transparent.
Okay.
And being honest, open, and transparent, I am definitely that in the attempts to court somebody. And I don't date. I choose not to date. I choose to court. There's a difference between
there is a difference.
And so in the courtship experience, there's a level and a layer of conversation that should be, the highest level of intimacy, conversation. And then as time progresses, then there's a level of presence that the person can receive. And once that presence is experienced, more time, then it gets more intimate, more closer to my heart. And like the temple, going to the ministry, the Holy of Holies is like the most private area. And I don't let everybody into the most holy of holies. Everybody starts off on the outer courts, gets closer with trust into my inner courts until I'm secure to know that they have my back and they have my support and they have my heart to receive the most intimate parts of my life.
So let me ask you about that, Raymond, because I get the point about dating versus courtship, but to be quite honest, someone has to earn courtship, because you're not going to court every person that you meet. You have to get to know them to figure out whether or not they are worthy of you courting them.
Very true. Very true. Very true. But it's based on the little things. If they keep their word with their own life and they keep their word with me, I can trust that what I am expecting of them will be received, and vice versa. I have to bring to the table me keeping my word and doing what I said I would do. And those things kind of build the trust level. It builds the heart, love deposits, I like to call it, from His Needs, Her Needs. That's another book. And when I have those love deposits, then I'm able to say, okay, let me give you a love withdrawal of something that you might want, because, it's an exchange. It's not one-way street. You know what I mean? So it takes time, though, for all that to occur.
Well, listen, I need to take a break, but we are going to come back. And I know, Jessica and Ronette are chomping at the bit to talk about this, particularly that love or emotional bank account. You don't want to overdraw that rascal. Listen, we are going to take a break, but don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR. I'm Harold Fisher. This conversation continues on Sirius XM channel 141 and 96.3 HD2 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our discussion about love languages and how it impacts the dating pool. My guests are Jessica Brown. She is a 34-year-old founder and executive director of the College Girl Foundation. Ronette Thompson, she's a 54-year-old attorney. Raymond Pretlor, he is 45 and a financial strategist. Jeff Mills is a 54-year-old ordained minister and varsity high school football coach. And of course, the unavailable, not single, Dr. Roz Aker Black. She is a clinical psychologist. Listen, but one of the other things that I wanted to ask, and I'll start with you, Jessica. What do you think are some of the barriers to real connection and finding the love that you want or deserve when you're out there in the dating pool? Is it ghosting? Is it lack of communication? Is it lack of deodorant? What?
Raymond. Raymond make it hard for a sister to try to get to know him, okay? And he goes for second and third. He brings that financial strategist into the dating pool, and it makes it hard to have that human connection. I think that is one thing I can say is being, I guess some people would call me powerful, right? Or just being a boss woman, right? You meet, of course, it's all about dating in your tax bracket, right? That's what everybody keeps telling you. You need to date in your tax bracket.
Why is that important?
But I'm starting to realize is dating in my tax bracket, Raymond, makes it hard for women. Or it's like these men, they're just so smart, right? And it's like there's so many smart women. So why do they have to work as hard for you when there's a dentist or a lawyer that's gonna go do whatever they want to do on the first date? They don't have to court me. They don't have to date me, right? That's one thing I've realized with dating more powerful men, you can get away with a lot more, right? When, the man ain't got so much money and just a regular 9 to 5 and he ain't on no business trip. I know where he is. I know what he's doing. I could track him. Whereas I can't track when you're on a business trip, who have you went to go see? I think that's one of the biggest barriers I believe in dating is, one, people are not very vulnerable. 2, everything is all a look, a facade. 3, people are not willing to work for anything anymore because everything has just been given so easy, especially for men. There's so many women who are powerful who want love, and these men know that. And they just take advantage of that. And us as women, we have to do a little bit better, right? But we want love. We want emotion. We want human connection. But like I said, people like Raymond make it hard because we trying to go on dates with Raymond, and Raymond is making this a whole financial project. So, and it's like, you're giving up instead of getting a chance to learn him, right? So I think sometimes we have to put aside all this tough masculinity from both sides, right? If we're looking for love and we want to date, let's really come to the table with that. Let's be upfront, off rip, and be intentional. A lot of people, or they have these intentions, but that's really not their intention. So really more so for me, being absolutely genuine through this dating process is what really is important to me.
Jeff, is she right?
She is right from a female perspective.
So now that's an interesting point of view. Yeah. Why is she right from a woman's perspective and not a man's perspective? What is your perspective as a man? And let me just say, for the purposes of this conversation, let us assume that we can put those who are just playing to the side and talk about those people who, while may have been unsuccessful, are really wanting to find connection and love and partnership. So go ahead, Jeff.
From a male perspective, when we hear the superficiality about tax brackets, financial status, hypergamy, I believe is the word. Mm-hmm. You sisters, you have eliminated a great population of men who can provide true love. And it really, the transactional piece, please don't be offended, sisters, when I say this. When I hear about transactional relationships, I think about prostitution. And so think about it. When you put yourself out there, A prostitute is a woman who wants to know the financial gain that she's going to get before she gives you what you're looking for. And so, sisters, you have to be careful how you present yourself on Front Street, because now the whole world knows where your head and heart is at. So, authenticity is the key, because back in the day where the status didn't matter, financial income didn't matter. All that matters is that you had husbands and wives, families sticking together through hell and high water, come good, bad, or indifferent financial hardships. And so, sisters, when we hear transactional relationships up front and we hardly know you, you're telling men that if hard times ever hit, especially financially, there's a great possibility you won't be there for us. And that shuts us down. That lets us know where your head and heart is at. And again, not
Dr.
everyone,
Roz,
don't get me wrong. That's it.
Dr. Roz remembers a show we did several years ago where that was one of the best shows I've ever done.
It was a great show.
When what Jeff said was actually, in that particular case, quite accurate. What do you think, Ronette, when you talk about the things that are keeping people from finding what they want, from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, it's the follow through for me. I have gotten so accustomed to doing things by myself. I've traveled solo. I go to the movies solo. I'll go out to eat solo. So that's not it for me. But if we meet and we have a meet and greet and things go well, and you say, okay, I'm going to call you because I want to see you again, and you never call, like, what's the point of that? Don't even waste my time. You don't need to say it. If it wasn't a match for you or you didn't enjoy yourself, don't send a text and say, oh, I had a great time, and then I don't hear anything else. Just be sincere, and don't if it's not your thing, then keep it moving, because I know I'm the prize. So that's not going to bother me. And I'm the type where I say, for the right guy, I would give a kidney to. It's not about what you can do for me. It's about what we can do together. And I really just want to take my time and get to know someone and date, with intention. Or if that's not what you're looking for, just make sure you set the expectations clear in the beginning so that everyone knows, what we're doing. Don't have me thinking it's A when it's really Z. That's a lot of what I've encountered. And, I go off of energy and vibes. And if the vibe or the energy isn't matching, what you're saying, then, I'm not even saving your number in my phone. It's going to take some time before you even get saved in my phone.
Wow. I would imagine, if you don't call back when you say, and then when you call back next week and you pick up the phone, if you don't think it's spam, your response may be, hey, Ronette, and you're like, who this?
Exactly.
So that's probably
exactly.
So, but Dr. Roz, to her point, and I hear this a lot from, and I've seen it as well, when you first meet someone and you may go out on a date with that person, and if you are not interested, man or woman, how do you express that without getting your tires slashed or your windows broken out?
Well, here's the thing. Be honest. Be honest. If you aren't vibing with someone, tell them it was very nice to meet you. It was a great time, but I think you and I would be better off as friends. And people respect honesty. Women, here's the truth though. Some women are at an age now where we're not doodling your name when we first meet you, like, oh, Roz and Jeff, but we're not doing that anymore. We're like, could this be something? And you can pick up when someone might be too dangerous for you. If you feel like they're going to slash your tires, then don't even continue the date. Don't continue the date. Don't, as Jeff said, as Jessica said, don't waste people, because that's wasting someone's time. If you already see it in the beginning, because you can pick up when someone, if they're a little aggressive with the waiter, if they're, if they are just a little impatient, and just in how they interact with you. You can tell when someone has an aggressive tone to them. Then you don't entertain it. Don't entertain it. I mean, women do this all the time. If I when I was dating, if I was out on a date with a guy and it just didn't work out, I'd send my little girl, my home girl, Nicole, like, get me out of here. Come up with an emergency. Like, it was really nice to meet
Get him the fake phone call.
Exactly. I was like, I have an
There's an emergency.
Yeah, I have a crisis. I have a suicidal client. I know that's wrong, but I mean, sometimes you just have to do whatever you got to do to save yourself. You got to do what you got to do to save yourself. So if it's not happening, then just be honest with people, because people will appreciate your honesty and they have more respect for you. And they're not leaving thinking that, oh, this could possibly be something, right? If you tell people up front. And listen, here's the thing. Some guys are afraid to be honest with women. I don't know why, but guys are afraid.
Yeah, we need to talk about that, but go ahead, finish your point.
They're afraid to be honest with women because they don't want to hurt our feelings. But the truth of the matter is, I'm gonna have more respect for you if you are honest with me and tell me what it is. You know, if it's not gonna happen, say it. So I'm not in a space thinking that we are about to be this great couple and you are nowhere near thinking that. Because here's the truth. And here's what people forget. People will do all kind of things with you, but that does not mean that they want to be with you. If that makes sense.
Let's write that down.
Say
that again for the people in the back.
People will do all kinds of things with you, but it does not mean that they want to be with you. And what I mean by that is that if you are offering sexual things, then there's not a person that's going to really turn that down if they are bored and want to be pleased. Let's be honest about it, right? But that does not necessarily mean that they want to be in a relationship with you. And so if you, and here's my barometer that I tell my clients. If you cannot have an honest conversation with the individual about what you want and what you need, and you have to guess about what is going on with you, and they're not there to give you a clear idea of what you are dealing with, then you are not in a relationship. So don't carry yourself like you're in a relationship, because you are not. You are not. Because a person that wants to be in a relationship with you, they're going to have a clear and honest conversation with you, and you're going to know your boundaries, and you're going to know the expectations of that relationship.
That's called a situationship, as it says in the streets.
Yeah.
And certainly, Ronette, not that you would know anything about that, that everything is full clearance. But why do you think, Ronette, and I think Dr. Ross brought this into true clarity, but why do you think that honesty, even in just meeting someone, why do you think men, and then I'm going to go to Raymond, why do you think men, for example, since they're the one who, well-earned or not, have a problem telling the truth even in just dating? If they're unattached, they don't have a girlfriend, but they still may find difficulty telling the truth.
I really don't understand why that is, especially dating at my age, because I had a situation where I was dating someone and I laid my cards on the table as to what I was expecting. This was about a year ago, and we had an agreement. We talked about it. And then a month later, everything is different. And it's like, well, nothing happened. So did you just lie in the beginning and tell me what you think I wanted to hear? And he admitted that's what he did. And at 50 something years old, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand the mentality of a 50 something year old man doing that. And especially, I try to live by the golden rule, treat people the way you want to be treated. This man had a daughter that was in college, and would you want a man to treat your daughter that way? I mean, it's really sad, the state that we're in. And, that's why for me, I'm like, well, if something happens and it works out and it comes my way, that's great. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be okay either way.
Raymond, not that you have ever had an issue with being untruthful with a lady, but as I'm going to have you speak for all men for the next minute or so. Why do you think that, that some men have an issue with telling the truth when they first meet a woman? And I'm not talking about some great big convoluted falsehood, but even a small thing. What's going on with that?
I'm going to speak about myself as well.
Sure.
But I would say, we talked about it earlier, our childhood has a lot of the roots to our conditioned lifestyle as adults. And so as a child, lying is actually a conditioned behavior. We naturally told the truth. We naturally didn't know anything other than the truth, because that's what the answer to the question was, whatever that was, right? But over time, after speaking truth, and sometimes it's unbelievable, sometimes it hurts, sometimes it's almost causing a rejection afterwards. That child grew up to say, you know what, I'm not going to tell the truth all the time because I can get away with a lie sometimes.
But is that applicable now but let me ask you this, because I don't want to get too down into the weeds, and but is that applicable for grown folks as it relates to dating?
I think it still applies, because as an adult, sometimes a man and a woman would choose not to hurt the person with truth, because sometimes truth hurts. The reality of life sometimes hurts to say, you know what, I cheated. To say I cheated, to say I spent the night with somebody else, to the woman that I love every day, that can sometimes lead to hurt and really a fist up your face. But it's not easy to do that. So some men would choose to lie because it's easier to just not deal with the reality of that action.
What do you think, Jessica? Uh-oh.
I mean, I don't understand.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right, but that's real.
I just don't understand y'all, right? Like, what's the point of lying, right? I think lying hurts the most, right? Because somebody like me, I'm going to let you, even though my suspicions, my spotty senses may be right, like you up to something, I don't go check people's phones. I don't do none of that, because the God I serve, you're going to be revealed sooner or later. But if you have enough respect for me, you wouldn't lie to me. I'd rather you be upfront with me, because once I find out, that's going to crush me even more. So I'm thinking the whole time I was dating a man, but clearly I'm dating a boy. And because if you were a man, men are honest. You want me to be a woman, right? You want me to be honest. You don't want me to use you for your money and all these other things. And I'm giving my authentic self, and you're having your cake and eat it too. That's not fair, because you wouldn't want me to do that to you. Because it's one thing about men. Men cannot handle if a woman does the same thing back. Y'all can't handle that. But us as women, we understand that, and we give you chance after chance after chance after chance, because we don't want to do you how you do us. So my thing is, be authentically who you are. And like Ronette said, treat people how you want to be treated. If you don't want me to lie to you, don't lie to me. And
then again, I don't want to disrupt, but every man is different. Not every man is the same. And so when we box people, and I said it in the previous documentary, when we box people into a box of being a man, and realize that everybody has their own individual past lives. And so when you're faced with that person in front of you, you got to recognize who he is, rather than just being a man. Recognize where he came from, recognize where he is and where he's going.
But people can fool you, Raymond.
Right.
People are really good at, showing what they want to show until they can't anymore. And a lot of times everybody starts with a clean slate. You trust until they give you a reason not to. And
what is the definition of a man? Because it seems like everybody has their own definition of what a man is.
Well, I would say this, when I'm talking about, in this particular case of when you're dating someone, or when you first meet someone, let me start there. When you talk about that clean slate that Ronette just mentioned, I'm talking about this set of, I'm quite sure, Dr. Roz approved questions. And this is not the Spanish Inquisition, but it is, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have someone who believes that they are your girlfriend?
Right.
Are you married? Are you divorced? Those are the kinds of things that I am talking about, and this goes, both ways. Although I would argue that we've often seen women more apt to ask those kinds of, dare I say, Dr. Ross, penetrating questions. But I would think that, and you help me with this, Dr. Ross, that trying to get a straight answer about what seems to be a simple question, because I will say, I have a wonderful sister friend who will say, look, if you're married, let me know. I will make a decision. I mean, this is not no judgment on the whole moral thing, but you let me know. If you have a girlfriend, are you living with someone, et cetera, et cetera. Let me know up front so that I can make a decision about how I am or am not going to interact with you. Your thoughts, Dr. Ross?
No, I agree with that. People deserve the right to have a choice. Now, whether they decide to kick it with you or not, or whatever it's called nowadays, whether they decide that is on them, but give them the choice. Don't have them in a situation where I was talking to a friend the other day, and the wife was in the mall, and this woman walked up to her and her daughter in the mall and was trying to fight the woman. It was a side piece. Like, do not put people in that type of situation to where they don't know danger is coming or not. Understand? Give people a choice of whether they want to be with you. But you will have men who know that they're married, and they will lie to the person, the side, or whatever. They will lie to them. And then when the side finds out that they are put in a position of being with a married individual, I mean, women too, don't get it wrong, with a married individual, they are heartbroken because that may not be their character. That may not be who they are. You know what I mean? So you just have to be honest with people, because guess what? Somebody might be down with being your side. It might be okay with that. Not that it's right or wrong. I don't have a judgment in that. But somebody might be okay with that lifestyle. Give people a choice. People have a choice, because you really, when you do that, that's how people end up on Snapped. Okay.
Right. Yeah, there you go. I do want to get back, Dr. Ross, to the whole love language thing. Yes. When you talk about, for example, quality time, are there some love languages that are just completely incompatible?
Oh, that's a great question. I would think that someone who is more of an acts of service kind of person would be incompatible with someone whose physical touch is their thing. Because
depends on what kind of service you're talking about, but that's
right. The acts of service would be doing for someone, right? And the physical touch would be like, I need affection. I don't want all the gifts. I don't want all, it's just because I don't want the trips. I don't want that. I want affection. I can see how that could be problematic. I just in myself, I'm a physical touch kind of girl, and I'm very affectionate. And so I have 3 older sisters, a house full of women, right? We're all my whole family is very affectionate. My husband, the youngest of 3 boys, and boys aren't that affectionate. So when we first met, he was like, wow, you really are very affectionate. And so it was very hard for him to adjust to what I needed from him. He got it together, because that's the only reason why we got married. But outside of that, it was very hard for him, because that wasn't his default behavior, if that makes sense. And so he had to really learn my love language, and I had to learn his love language. And so it takes time to do that. It's not something that's going to happen in 6 months or a year. It takes time. It takes time because we change. We change too. We change all the time. I'm not who I was 6 months ago.
Really?
No, not at all. Nope. Nope. Not at all. I am not the same girl I was 6 months ago or a year ago, because we change. We
Well,
change.
but there is but now that I think about it, there is an upside to that because your husband has, well, he has, the opportunity to be with, different women in one body because
That part. You're right.
you keep him guessing.
Keep them
You know,
guessing.
who are you this month, Ross?
Right.
just let a brother know.
Right.
Ronette,
Indeed.
you were nodding your head just a moment ago. What were you thinking?
Well, I agree with what Dr. Roz is saying, especially with letting people know so they can decide for themselves. That's the biggest thing. Just whatever it is you desire or your expectations, communication is key. So that way everyone knows where things stand. And there's no reason for hurt feelings or misunderstandings because everything was clear up front. If you just want to date and you don't want a serious relationship, then you say that. So the person can say, well, I'll continue to date and go out, but I'll keep my options open. I won't just date you exclusively. I just think it's important that everyone is just clear in what they want and their expectations are. So but let me just say, for someone who's married, I don't think a wife would ever be cool with a husband having a side chick. Maybe or maybe not. Of course, we know that there are couples like that, but in the instance where the lady was confronted in the mall with her child, that's terrible. And
It's awful.
that my heart breaks, especially for someone being confronted like that, who probably had no idea that, that was the situation she was in. And
the child seeing it also.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
the
that's
child
just
seeing it,
never right. That's never right.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm
I'm running out of time, and I know I've got to let Jeff run. But Jeff, I'll let you have a final word first. Your final thoughts about love language and just finding, the connection that you want.
Mm-hmm. So, in regards to honesty, being honest up front, the scripture that comes to mind is when Jesus was with the rich young ruler. Jesus simply told the rich young ruler the standard. The rich young ruler said, "What can I do to be saved?" Jesus simply raised the standard. Go sell all that you have, and give to the poor. Scripture says the rich young ruler walked away sad because he had many possessions. And so Jesus didn't chase after him. Jesus didn't beat him down with the truth. He simply stated the standard, stated the truth, and allowed him to choose. There's nothing in nothing in the rest of the Bible, New Testament, that states that rich young ruler came back. And what that says is that some people are so attached to their worldly possessions that they would disregard what God has made readily available to them: honesty, truth, the standard of holiness, of living righteousness, being in a right relationship. And so when you build a house, you have a choice to either build that house on the solid rock, or foolishly you can build your house on the world standard of sinking sand. And the rains and the floods and the winds will beat upon both houses, and only one will remain standing. The other one will be a great fall. So in relationships, the best relationships are built on truth and honesty, not on deception and lies and falsehood.
You know what? I think that's a great way to end this conversation. I want to thank all of you, Jeff, Raymond, Ronette, Jessica, Dr. Roz, Ronette. Particularly a thank you to you because you were able to step in when we lost another guest. And so I really appreciate you making yourself available. Thank you all so much. Good luck for finding love. And Roz, tell your husband I said, hey.
I will. I sure will.
That is the Daily Drum for this Friday, December 13th. For News Director Renee Nash, reporters Millette Green and Bramante Bryant, I'm Harold Fisher. Good night and have a wonderful week.